Flynn, walk us through the nuts and bolts of how bad Illinois' debt system is.
So as you said, Alex, it's $134 billion unfunded pension liability. The state actually spends a quarter of its budget every year trying to pay off those debts, and it's 40% unfunded, and it's so it really has impact way beyond the state capitol. In fact, just last week, in the first round of the Chicago mayor's race, Bill Daley, the son and brother of former mayors, did not make the runoff, stunned everyone, and a big reason he didn't is because he had the audacity to suggest rolling back current pension benefits to push a constitutional amendment to do that. And a lot of Chicago firefighters and policemen, for instance, said, no way, we're not going to go for that. And consequently, there will be no Daley on the ballot in April. And that sends a really clear message to lawmakers in Springfield that if you want to make a structural change to address this problem and roll back existing benefits, you're going to be in big trouble from labor unions and from voters who are opposed to that. So it's a huge lift. It's a huge challenge for J.B. Pritzker, the new governor.
So Flynn, exactly. So Flynn, they got a big problem. The question is, are they headed in the right direction or the wrong direction? As you just said, they have a new governor now. Can they dig themselves out of this hole without reducing pension benefits?
And for the long term, the short answer is no. But Pritzker has, he has some modest plans that he's pushing, selling $2 billion in pension bonds, shifting some state assets to the pension funds. But his big plan is to push for a graduated income tax. We have a flat tax in Illinois, fairly rare in the United States. He wants a graduated income tax. But even that would, if that got passed, and that's a heavy lift, he would have to get it not only past the legislature, but 60% of voters would have to agree to that that amendment in 2020. So that's not even an easy lift. And even if that did pass, it would only be about 200. It would only be about 200 million a year that they could dedicate to those pensions.
So, Sean, what's priced in?
Yeah, I would agree with Flynn that this is not unique when we talk about Illinois. If you remember, a couple of years back, Illinois had a budget impasse of almost 800 days in length. So this is not unique to them. The numbers are very stark. What's priced in is a decent amount of risk premium. If we look at a state like California that trades at a 10 spread, or New Jersey at 60, you have Connecticut at 80, Illinois trades at 185. So there's a decent amount of risk premium built into that name. I think it's because the market has become accustomed to some of the gimmicks around the budgets in Illinois. With the Democratic trifecta that's now in place, I think there was a hope that some of the political headwinds would turn into tailwinds. And while we haven't seen that yet, I think the reason that spreads haven't moved wider is because there's this notion that there's some time given by the rating agencies when a new governor takes seat to get his or her feet underneath them and address the budget at hand. And that's going to have to be done here.
How much time? How much time does he have before the rating agencies really hit him?
I think you have 6 months to a year. You could see a downgrade. Fitch has talked about the budget probably the most negatively, but you have a bit of time. And if this is a bridge budget to get towards a progressive or a graduated tax, then that's a step in the right direction. But we've heard this before, and now the market needs to see action in order to take spreads much tighter.
Is there room to short there, or you need to stay away?
Not in the muni market. The muni market continues to be a long-only market. So if you like Illinois, you buy it, and if you don't like it,
there's no other way to express a negative opinion.
Yeah, outside of synthetics that have taxable consequences, not in the traditional market, there's not.
So Flynn, you pointed out the Bill Daley problem running for the Chicago mayor. He just suggested maybe we make some changes, including putting the union on the line. Is there the political will? Does Governor Pritzker have the political will to make those changes that need to be done? We're told by Sean within 6 months to a year.
I think it's going to be really modest steps, David. I think he's part of his plan is to persuade some state employees to take early retirement. So that would be a structural fix. That would, if you could convince a large number, then you're dealing with actually long-term obligation. But boy, it's going to be really, really tough, David, because as I said, the lesson from that mayor's race, the first round last week, was don't mess with the unions.
So, Sean, Illinois, to the contrary notwithstanding, the municipal market overall is robust.
It is. It is.
Why?
And that's a good point. The amount of demand that has been coming into the muni market has been sensational. About $15.7 billion year to date. Supply is very well telegraphed and well absorbed. We've seen a renewed interest for retail as we get closer to tax time. You remember in the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, the SALT deduction was kept at $10,000. That's going to have a meaningful outcome for tax conversations as we get closer to April 15th, and that's already beginning. So retail has really been driving the demand, particularly in the SALT states.
Well, that's exactly my question to pivot off of that. So how much of the strength in the muni market is actually demand-driven because it's like a short-term thing for taxes, and how much of it is like a genuine, I believe in your state, you're going to do well kind of thing?
That's a very good question. It's difficult to break down exactly how much of the $15.7 billion comes from a specific state or from the SALT states, but the amount of demand is probably about 4 times what we're seeing in supply. So it's sustainable. It's not like we've seen a pop here that's all of a sudden going to turn into outflows. Performance has been positive. We're up about 1.25 points year to date, which is very similar to the full year return of 2018. So performance has been solid, very good demand, issuance that is not going to set the market on its heels anytime soon.
So for a troubled state like Illinois, and there are a couple others like that, I think you put in that category, is there a shift over away from general obligation bonds to very specific bonds because it's harder to raise the money from general obligation bonds?
Absolutely. You can purchase anything from direct revenue bonds where you can actually see the revenue stream, call it a toll road or bridge, so on, or appropriation debt, such as in the state of New Jersey. If you're overweight or you have enough exposure to the state of New Jersey itself, appropriation debt is a good alternative.